sort of first episode. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about the year to come and what we're looking forward to. Tonight with me is Ian.
Evening.
How are you, matey?
I'm alright, matey. How's yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Good stuff.
So, well, let's get straight off to it then. On your list of games you're looking forward to this year, what's your big one? What's your number one?
I don't know if I've got a number one. It's too early,
Okay.
I think, for a number one. I think most looking forward to in the imminent future is probably Dark Souls 3.
Okay, yeah.
Because obviously, anyone who knows me knows how much of a ridiculous fanboy I am for those games, Bloodborne included. And I know absolutely nothing about it, which is the best way to play them games for me.
Yeah,
I've
definitely.
seen about 5 minutes of footage. I wouldn't even say it was 5 minutes long. From the limited thing I've seen, it does look much better than Dark Souls 2, and it looks like they sped up the combat as well to be a bit more Bloodborne-ish. But I wouldn't put any trust in what I've just said, to be honest. But I'm just really looking forward to it. It's
Awesome.
only 40, 60, 70 hours of my life that I just lock myself in a dark room and leave me alone.
Sweet. See, I'm hoping that you're right on the faster combat, the Bloodborniness. Is obviously not having played Bloodborne myself, and probably not having the opportunity anytime in the sort of near future. It'd be nice to have a taste of that sort of faster combat, but soulsy feel to it.
It is the biggest change for Blood with I put my teeth in. The biggest separation from the Dark Souls games to Bloodborne is the sheer speed and visualness of the combat.
Yeah.
It's yeah. If they bring that kind of, because the Dark Souls always felt a bit clunky, but that's part of the game. Really, that clunkiness, that the slow movement is part of the game.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting how they merge the two. But it needs it, I think. It needs to be sped up now. We think we need that.
I suppose that now that everyone's sort of put their time into a Bloodborne, and I mean, that's been probably more critically acclaimed than either of the Dark Souls. Maybe not Demon Souls, but certainly the Dark Souls games. So it'd be a welcome change for many.
Yeah, Bloodborne feels of the now,
Mm.
where Dark Souls does feel a little bit of the then. So yeah, goosebumps.
Yeah,
First time you see a boss, here we go. You know,
I'm back in a Souls game. I'm ready to go.
yeah, you died.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to that. And I must admit, I've not played Dark Souls 2 yet. I should probably pick up Scholar of the First Sin and try and burn through it before then. It's just I'm not sure I'm emotionally ready to push through that fast.
No, I don't think you need to. It's a different game, Dark Souls 2, than the first one.
Yeah.
Um, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try. I lied to myself. Obviously, he worked on Dark Souls 1 and then he moved to Bloodborne. He had a bit of a hand in 2, but you can tell the difference between him not being as actively involved with 2.
Yeah.
Some of the changes, I liked them. I didn't think it was that bad, but is Miyazaki.
Miyazaki.
Thank you. He's produced the third one, so the expectations are high.
Mm.
There's a slight apprehension that it's come out about 6 months, maybe a year too soon, because
Possibly.
they're emotionally, physically demanding games to play.
Mm.
Um, so you need a break. That's why I wouldn't rush from 2 to 3. It's something to slow down, take your time.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Generally, but at the same time, it's been years since I've played Dark Souls 1, and I never finished that. I put 100 or so hours into it, but I never finished it. I got distracted and wandered off a lot, and then got killed a lot as a result. Turns out you can't wander off the beaten track into areas that are higher levels than you until you're those levels.
That's the only way you know you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, if you get destroyed in seconds, then you
Yeah.
know.
That bush has just slaughtered me. I'm going the wrong way.
But yeah, I mean, March is that?
It is indeed.
March, awesome. Okey-dokey.
March could be a really busy month.
It's looking that way for what was sort of shaping up as a fairly quiet year start. Has been it's not working out like that at all.
No, there's another one that's sneaked in. We've known about it for quite a while, but all of a sudden, my interest has peaked somewhat in the last couple of weeks. Was the Division?
Yes, yeah.
If I could give Ubisoft just a bit of advice, it would be please don't announce your games too soon,
So
because I think they struggle with that.
hmm,
Like if you go back to last year, Fallout announced at E3, out in November. Perfect for me, perfect amount of hype and time and expectation. If you announce a game and wait 2 to 3 years before people actually get to play it, I think they can only be disappointed,
yeah.
because the hype can only build so much, and the expectation they suffered with Watch Dogs.
Yeah, I was about to say Watch Dogs syndrome. That was probably the first one where people really were disappointed by the end product compared to the announcement. I think that was the most notable just backlash for comparing the finished product to how they announced it as well. It wasn't good.
There was one on the PS3 it was coming out, and it was supposed to be like, oh, this is the big FPS everyone's been waiting for. It's so big that I can't remember what it's bloody called now.
Was it Mag?
Haze.
Oh, Haze. Oh, God.
And
Yeah,
that
that
was
was bad.
that seemed to me to suffer the same problem. It was just in development for so long.
Yeah.
By the time it came out, it was outdated. And you kind of worry, you think, oh yeah, these wonderful videos. I mean, Ubisoft's cutscenes are just, I mean, look, their production levels are just beautiful. And you think, ooh, but by the time you get your hands on the game, you're like, oh, it doesn't quite live up. But that's why I kind of like the Division's coming. So, oh, okay. Not getting too excited. And then you find out a little bit more about the game itself, and you're thinking, oh, well, okay.
See, now I maintained an almost media blackout on it just because I wasn't particularly interested. The gameplay I'd seen didn't really inspire me to anything. Right up until the point where you started describing it a couple of weeks, and then it was like, maybe that sounds quite interesting. Then I watched a couple of videos. It's like, ooh, this does look quite interesting. And now now the hype is building.
From what I understand, again, when I'm interested in the game, I don't want to find out too much, because the world is so open to information these days that you can't control how much you find out. If you remember, there was a chap who put the whole playthrough of The Order up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Before release. I was like, oh, fuck off. I mean, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. If you watch a preview video, you think, I've seen too much. I've seen half. I mean, I know it's only 10, 15 minutes of a game. It's 8 to 10 hours, or you maybe even a lot more. But you kind of see the best bits. Movies are the same. You see too many trailers, you feel like you've seen the whole film.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't want to see what all the game has to offer. I want to find out for myself. So I'm quite happy to go into most games, partially, if not completely blind, for that reason, because I could go back to the days where you got a magazine and you talked to your friends, and that was the only information that you got.
I used to have a subscription to Games Master, and that was the most exciting part of the month, was what's coming out that I've had no idea about, and then reading the heavily biased articles towards them that make you think, I need this now.
Oh God, yeah. The smell of the new paper. It's like when you first crack the span on your mic, it's like there's previews, reviews. There's even a little cheat section. It was there. They were the days.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, good and bad reasons. There's too much information, so as I say, I like to go a little bit dark, trying to limit my exposure to what I'm interested in. But the Division was one of them. I'm not really fussed. I can't be like okay, whatever. And then, as you know, we've both got access to the beta, so it's like, well, I better take a bit more of attention to it. Let's have a look. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize there was this much to it. I mean, what they're saying is that it's set in New York, which, with the exception of a few areas or streets, I'm not quite sure, but it's almost the scale of 1-to-1.
Yeah.
So the map supposedly is quite big. And then there's the role-playing elements to it, the loot elements to it, the upgrading your own base, kind of your base of operations stuff. So it's not just a shooter then. Oh, they've likened parts of the game to Destiny with the loot system and the gear and rewards, and then there's obviously the PvP area, which is in the middle,
Yeah.
where things get really interesting. You know, it's permanent loot drops and stuff like this. Oh, okay, you've got my attention now, sir. Absolutely.
I mean, it's nice that we're going to get a chance to have a crack at the beta. What was it, next week? Next weekend? 29th?
Yes,
Yeah.
29th, yes.
And being able to put a little bit of time into it, especially as we both got access, because if we're going to be playing it as a squad, it's very much nice to see how that co-op will play out before making a double investment in it. But as you say, it's looking really good, and after watching some gameplay videos, the third person shooting mechanics, which are so integral to the way they've built the game, look really tight. A lot of people have complained that perhaps enemies are a little bit spongy, but it's not a shooter, it's an RPG, and you got to remember that. And it's a little bit weird to get used to, but it looks really tidy, very, very pretty as well. And as long as Ubisoft don't pull an Ubisoft and really make a mess of it, it should be cracking. Should be really good.
Yeah,
fun.
they piss off at microtransactions that speed up your progress or loot drops or whatever. Like, I don't want to see anything like that in it.
I can see them being there.
Yeah, I can, to be honest. It's like, how can they fuck it up? Well, that's how they can really mess it up. You know, that's how to destroy a game in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna have it microtransactions, let it be for useless stuff. To just aesthetic things, because otherwise they're gonna ruin it already. I mean, what I'm hoping is if they've made an RPG shooter like that, and they've looked at Destiny, some of the mistakes and some of the brilliant things Bungie have done with that game, and hopefully brought that to it. And if that's the case, I'm in.
It could well be the best of Destiny, but sort of distilled in a slightly different experience, which again is nice for me because I've not had the chance to play Destiny, and as much as I've slated Bungie and some of the stuff they've done, they're making an absolute killing off those microtransactions, so clearly they're not going to go away, and I think we're just going to have to sort of come to terms with that. But there's always that part of me that thinks, I bet I'd really enjoy it if I started playing it, which is so dangerous, but the Division may well scratch that itch for the time being.
Yeah, I don't want to go about Destiny too much. I mean, I pretty much lone wolf that game, but I came to that so late. I bought the Taken King, the whole package stuff, for like £20. And good God, there's a very good game there for 20, especially for £20.
Yeah.
But I pretty much lone wolf it in that I don't team up, and kind of that's what I think I've got to a certain stage now with that. I think you need a team, you need a fire team now to carry on with it, and it's like, nah, you're all right.
Yeah.
Be able to play with yourself and something similar. Yeah.
That's
goodbye social life.
What little social life is left after HOTS has taken everything else.
And what about you, buddy? What's on your radar?
So I think the big one for me, which is the game that is currently being displayed in the stream, is some footage I took whilst playing it last week. Is Star Citizen, or not specifically Star Citizen, more Squadron 42, as I don't think we'll see a finished Star Citizen this year. I think that's going to be a late 2017 job, although there's a lot of content there now. But I wasn't really fussed about any space games up until EGX 2014, when I got to play Elite Dangerous on the Oculus Rift, and it totally changed my mind. It's like, oh, I could get into this. And watching some of Star Citizen develop, I thought I'd make an investment in it. So I was perhaps a little under the influence when I made my purchases, and I ended up with the Squadron 42 package and the ship which you can currently see now on the stream, which is the Cutlass Black, which is just gorgeous, so expensive but so worth it.
So how much did it set you back? Be honest.
So the Squadron 42 package was, I think, £28, which is like, it gets you your basic Star Citizen, it gets you a starter ship, and it gets you a digital copy of Squadron 42, which, for those who are unaware, is the single player campaign part of Star Citizen, which is a fully, massively voice acted and casted campaign, with the same gameplay, the same graphics, the same mechanics, which once you've finished will give you access to some rather nice bonuses in Star Citizen, so it's worth finishing, and then being an experienced captain by the time you get out into the multiplayer part of the game. Then the Cutlass Black was, I think it was about £80.
Oh,
No, they're not cheap, those ships. They will be once the game starts. You'll be able to get them for a fairly reasonable number of in-game resources, but this is the privilege of being able to play with them for the next year or so while it's being developed.
did you not get a ship with your initial £25?
I did, yes. But it wasn't a great big pirate ship. And I think I'm currently actually on the video floating around the outside of the Cutlass, and you can see the Spitfire markings and the skull and crossbones on the wing. And those little details alone, it's like, yep, justified. But I've been playing a fair bit of the Alpha 2.0 and the Alpha 2.1, which were updated in the last couple of weeks. And it's a shocking amount of content there. It's really starting to come together. A lot of people that say it's vaporware should have a look now, because there's a game starting to crawl out of it. There's a persistent universe. You can interact with other players. You can dogfight. You can go off and do missions. There's actual missions now, with objectives. There's the first-person shooter part's been introduced, sort of almost to no fanfare, which is, I find, alarming after Star Marine was delayed so many times. There's one wonderful standard mission at the moment, which are the comms relays. So you go out and you engage your hyperdrive after you leave the port, which is, there's a real childish thrill in doing that on its own, because it's like, oh, you see all the stars rushing past, and it's like Star Wars. And you fly out to one of these comms relays, and as you get there, the military inform you that the comms relay is down and that there are some hostiles outside, but they immediately say, don't worry, we can handle this. They definitely can't. Well, just a heads up there. So you fly in and you think, oh, I'll give them a hand anyway, and you shoot up some of the pirates, which for me feels like a betrayal more than anything. It's like, can I just join you and start shooting the ships? Turns out you can, but the bounty on your head is not worth it at this point.
Right, fair enough.
The military have got faster ships than you, unless you bought one of the particularly fast ones that you can get away. But I couldn't. Mine's lumbering. So
I hesitate to ask how much are the faster ships.
Cheaper. That's the best part.
Oh,
Yeah, I it's a very specific ship I've bought, a very specific role it's for. So you once you've destroyed the pirates and you float up to the outside of the comms array, and there's a little hole in it, like a maintenance entrance. So you get out the seat of your ship and you walk down to the back. You engage your doors. In this case, my ship's got a boarding tube underneath. Specifically, it's got docking clamps as well, so I can land on top of ships, shoot a hole in their hull, and then drop through my little hole and kill everyone on board and pirate them, which is exciting. But you can use it as a quick access to drop out the bottom of your ship. Then you've got to float through the hole, and you've got little jetpacks. You've got your EVA suit. You're going through the hole. You go and turn the comms array off, and then on your way back out, there are pirates on foot coming back through the comms array. So you find a rifle on the floor, and you start shooting your way through, proper first-person shooter, which is actually very tidy. The FPS mechanics are really getting there now. I've seen some of the earlier builds, and they were not very comfortable. The controls are very floaty. It seems a little bit better now. It's still not as fluid as it could be, and I imagine that it'll be worked on, but it's definitely a good base. So then you fly back out, you jet back up into your ship, and you fly back off, and you go and do something else entirely. It's fascinating how much content is there. Although Elite Dangerous is a lot bigger, which I have been playing a bit recently as well, the universe is definitely larger, and there's definitely a larger variety of missions in Elite. I've found the Star Citizen missions more enjoyable so far. I might just be biased because I have that kind of investment in it, which I imagine gives you a certain amount of confirmation bias towards it. But
Yeah, £100, but you hope you'd enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that is the thing. But Squadron 42, which is sort of what I'm looking for this year, as that is a 2016 release at present. And looking at the amount of recording work they've done, I would imagine we might see that. The cast
Didn't they
list.
just announce that Gillian Anderson's in it now as well?
Yes, they did. Yeah, just ready for the X-Files premiere as well. Very well timed for that. Very sneaky.
Yeah.
But so we were talking just of the big ones that I remember: Mark Hamill, Gary Oldman, Gillian Anderson. Who else is it? It's a huge cast list. And it's all proper high end mocap work as well. I believe they've had it's a similar kind of mocap that you would see in, say, the most recent Planet of the Apes films and Avatar, which have been lauded as some of the greatest mocap experiences in recent years, and it's right up there. Some of the work they've done, absolutely stunning. There's fabulous interviews on YouTube at the moment on the Star Citizen page of Mark Hamill and Gillian Anderson, talking about their experiences and how they know Chris Roberts, and that's looking like it's going to be a really, really good, solid first, just a single player game, where I get to make use of the expensive flight stick I bought just to play Star Citizen as well.
No, and the price has just gone up.
That's the price by a further undisclosed amount. And when I invariably buy Oculus Rift for the same reason, that's going to drive the cost up a fair bit more again. But
Jesus.
I think it'll be worth it. I'm enjoying it enough at the moment that I feel it's worth it. The flight stick makes hell of a difference. It's really, really very nice to be able to switch between mouse and keyboard for the first-person shooter segments, and then drop the flight stick on and fly off in your ship and pull off ridiculous manoeuvres that the people with the joypads behind you just can't hope to match. It's looking like it's going to be something enormous, or it'll be nothing at all. I think it's at this point. I don't like to use the phrase "too big to fail," but it's starting to get towards that point. And as long as they keep an eye on their community and listen to what they want, I think they've got a gigantic success on their hands. Again, confirmation bias, but still.
It'd have to be with all that money that's been invested in it.
Hopefully. I hope that's not just paying for Gillian Anderson. It'll be worth it if it is, but, you know.
She's a special lady.
Oh, yes. Most definitely. But yeah, I think that's... I could gush about it for hours, but I'm not going to. I won't bore you with that. I've bored you enough times with that already. I'll let the footage that's running throughout this video kind of speak for itself. You can see it's a little bit rough around the edges. It's a bit buggy. Although I've had a pretty positive experience. I've had buggier release titles from Ubisoft, that's for sure, and others actually. Recently, Arkham Knight. But yeah, it's starting to come together as something a bit special. Right then, what's next on your list, matey?
Well, As you know, I don't really go into the space. It's probably the only genre of game that kind of doesn't really grab me,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But saying that, I'm hoping there's an alpha coming out in the next few weeks. But I've been keeping my eye on this for a while now. Is Dreadnought,
Yes. Yeah.
which for anyone who doesn't know is essentially a 5v5 open warfare with humongous battleships, space battleships. Um, and that just, yeah, I don't know why that suddenly has so much appeal, but it does. Each these massive dreadnought ships, each one of them has a class of its own. So you have like a battleship which is set up like a sniper class or like a medic class. And they say it's 5v5, and it's just obviously they're huge, massive, cumbersome things. They don't move very quick. But the attention to detail that they've seen in some of these ships is just eye-wateringly gorgeous, beautiful things. With little turrets move with the guns and stuff. So I don't know what it is. Normally I'd just look at it and go, and carry on. But there's something about that one. It's like, oh yeah, I want to have a go at that.
I think a lot of it is the way they've set the controls and that kind of thing up. In that it almost plays like a first-person shooter, but where you're controlling a giant ship. It's a lot faster and more fluid than the typically cumbersome dogfights that you find in similar kind of space games.
It's the tactics as well that go into it. It's a bit of Battlefield in there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of COD in there. There's a little bit, there's the team ethic as well. It's just, yeah. It's different as well to the stuff I'd normally play. And like, someone's been gaming so long, and you see all this new technology that comes out over the time. And you think you can only jump on a mushroom, so many times before it gets boring.
Nintendo would disagree strongly.
So to be honest, I disagree with myself to a degree. But they keep making Mario different.
Somehow, yeah.
But yeah, you just kind of think, graphics are one thing, but it's like moving with something else, And I think that's what it is with Dreadnought. It offers us something a little bit a different experience to what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Which is I always try and encourage myself to have a go with. So yeah, Dreadnought's on a watch list. I would say it's been most anticipated. As I say, there's going to be. I think the E3 this year is going to be quite interesting. I think we're going to find a lot of games quite at the end of the year. If we have because this year could be even better than last year. And last year for me was one of the best years in gaming I've ever experienced.
Certainly in recent memory, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just as much looking forward to Dreadnought. I mean, we tried Fractured Space not that long ago, which is a fairly similar concept, but I'd say probably without the care and the attention to detail put in, and it's a bit odd. It doesn't seem to quite work. There's something a little bit missing.
It seemed to lack scale.
Yeah.
Which is the only. It's very difficult to explain if you haven't seen it. If you look at Dreadnought, you're just looking at that. You think this is epic. It's like the moments in Star Wars where the Star Destroyer comes above. You think that ship is fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's that moment. It's like, oh my god, look at the size of that. That's kind of the feeling you kind of get with Dreadnought. Like, look at this. Look at this. I didn't get that with Fractured Space. Like that.
It was.
I felt slightly detached from it as well.
It was like playing a miniatures game. You just looked down on stuff and it was like, there's my ship. Okay.
Yeah.
And the controls were very strange. They didn't really let you do a lot of remapping, which was a little bit awkward. It probably warrants another crack at some point, but I think Dreadnought's very much taken the impetus away from it, because that looks absolutely stunning in every sense. It's looking like it's going to be a very strong game, and it's very much the year of the space game as well. Everything's coming out. I mean, last year was a big one for them. We've seen the return of many franchises, classic franchises. So, I mean, Homeworld, Elite, Wing Commander, all of them have I say Wing Commander, that's Squadron 42. But all of them have come back to strength, and usually with community backing or at least crowdfunding as well. Just pretty big year for it.
Maybe Star Citizen had something to do with it all.
Possibly.
Before the publishers, developers have had a look and thought, people actually want these games.
Now, I could be entirely wrong here, but I think Elite was the first one to get the Kickstarter, and that they did very well initially. And that Star Citizen's crowdfunding campaign either came at a very similar time or just afterwards. And obviously they didn't have a Kickstarter as such. It's been purely the website pledges, which they've actually removed the money tracker from Star Citizen now. I think it was over $100 million last time I saw, though.
They used to have a live feed.
They did, but it was starting to look
Which I found amazingly egotistically brilliantly funny.
Yeah. I think it was starting to look like they were gloating, so they've removed it because it was getting
like
stupid.
on a constantly evolving line graph of how much over the last couple of minutes had been pledged to the games. Like, fucking hell.
It was impressive.
It's like, can you stop making that and perhaps finish the game? Maybe.
I think that may have been one of the complaints that caused them to remove it from the website, to be fair, and for good reason. It was a bit weird. It was a bit like, is that really ethically? Is that the right thing to have here?
Well, it made me smile.
Oh yeah.
You got like them for a little bit of bravado, as long as you can back it up, because that Star Citizen could change a lot of the way we look at games.
Yeah.
It has the potential and I don't know that much, I must admit, but from what I do understand, that has the potential to raise the bar of what we can expect.
I mean, from what I've played, it's all potential at the moment. There's certainly a solid space game under there, but if they can achieve everything that they set out to with it, then it really will be something enormous and so.
Yeah, if they can deliver, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I always say, aim high, aim so high that if you miss, you're still quite high.
Yeah.
So good luck to them. Seriously, good luck to them. It's not really my type of game. It's not something I'd be jumping in at this point. There's no way I'd spend £80 on a ship. Screw that. Because it's just not my game.
Yeah.
So
one of the.
Sorry, Dan, go on, mate.
Well, one of the interesting things with it is that one of the things they intend to do is almost like a shipless pass, or at least the cheap pass with just the starter ship. So what you could do is, if you just wanted not necessarily to get into the space stuff because it's not really your thing, but play it as a first-person shooter and as a looting game and like a scavenger survival game, is you could buy a pass to the game, sell your cheap ship for resources which you could spend on your guns, and then be the gunner in my ship. And then when you weren't on, I'd just carry on doing all the flying about, but you could just sit on planets and loot people and shoot. And
see, that sounds cool.
It's
imagine having you have your own little legion, your own squad.
Well,
it does sound cool.
The capital ships require big crews. I think the largest capital ship, you need 20 plus people just to get it flying, because you need someone to maintain the engines, and you need someone else to maintain the shields, and someone else to do this, and someone else to do that, which is a ridiculous concept. But when clans get together, that will destroy everybody. And there's a hell of a community aspect in the organisations, which are basically clans. I was invited to a criminal organisation last week, the Syndicate, they call themselves, and their whole thing, it's a protection racket realistically, as their sales pitch is, hey, if you join us, we won't attack you. So, okay then, I guess I'll join you. I mean, you're advertising what I want anyway, and that you're a criminal organisation, and I quite like that. But you can hide your affiliation with them. so I can refuel at their stations because other members can tell that I'm part of them. But other than that,
Jesus.
I could be a reputable science researcher and just take my nice research ship to planets and look at minerals, but then by night get my pirate ship out and go and ruin things for the Syndicate without damaging my daytime reputation, because I've hidden my affiliation with them, which is something they recommend. And it means they won't attack me, and we can get cheap refueling. It's like, this is the kind of battles that you're going to get between clans is something that's going to be like EVE Online proportions, but with actual real-time ships. It's like, oof. If that's another big thing, that if they deliver on that kind of content, then it's, yeah. But I'll keep bringing Star Citizen up. I need to stop. I need to move on to something else. Right, so we've Dreadnought, and while we're on Dreadnought, actually, I think I'll interject my next one there. This is a similar vein, which is Battlefleet Gothic. For anybody who doesn't know Battlefleet Gothic, it was originally a miniatures game, one of the specialist games that Games Workshop did. I think that was an early to mid 90s job, Battlefleet Gothic, if not late 80s. And it's not been around for a long time, but it was a bit of a fan favourite. And there's rumours that it'll return to the tabletop this year. But before that, there is Battlefleet Gothic Armada, which is very similar to Dreadnought, except that you're controlling fleets rather than individual ships, and it's more of a single player type experience. But it's an RTS.
This one's new to me. Sorry, matey, go on.
No, it's all right. It's more of an RTS. It's a bit like Homeworld, but set in the Warhammer 40k universe, which is just me. Yeah, perfect. I need that. The gameplay's looking spectacular as well. It's really very pretty. It looks smooth. The fleet control looks like it's as simple or complex as you want it to be, which is good for me, as I'm an idiot and I like to be able to keep things simple. Just let me have one button for shoot and the other button for defend, and bind everything to that and call it a day. Or, let people with better brains than me manage to do more complex tactical manoeuvres and the like. But it's looking very good, looking very strong. I got a glimpse of it at the Games Workshop's 40th birthday event a couple of weekends ago. So they had an associated video game demo.
Right.
With a couple of games. It was they had Vermintide, they had Talisman Horus Heresy, they had Battlefleet Gothic, and they had Total Warhammer as well. Obviously, big name this year.
Yeah, that's on the watch list.
Definitely, yeah. Keeping an eye on that for now.
Yeah.
Never been a Total War fan, which might put me off, but I am a Warhammer fan, which is enough to pull me back in again. So.
Yeah, I've never given enough time to Total War, but I love the idea of it. Like an RTS, and you can zoom right into the battlefield. Yeah. I'll have some of that, and just with that aesthetic, the Total War world, it's like, yeah, okay. Mix that with Warhammer, I'm like, okay.
It was a really good fit, and I think it had been rumoured for a number of years, and it was always something that people love to do. And with Games Workshop giving their license out so freely at the moment, not always.
Yeah, there's a lot of it about.
A lot of it's rubbish. There's been some standout good ones, like Regicide's quite good fun. The recent Space Hulk games have been quite good, just as a recreation of the tabletop. But I don't think we've had a real proper 40k game since Dawn of War, and I think that Battlefleet Gothic could be the first one to capture that in a number of years. Obviously, Vermintide is very good for Warhammer Fantasy, but 40k needs a bit of love and a decent dev behind them, and it looks like they've got that in Battlefleet Gothic. It's well worth looking at, especially if you like RTS games. It's not 3-dimensional like Homeworld. It's a flat plane in space, so it's sort of
that'll help.
Yeah,
will help me anyway.
Me too. I love Homeworld to pieces, but I'm shit at it. I'm not very good at that game at all.
No, it flummoxed me to death. I was like, okay, ow. I played Command and Conquer on the PlayStation. I enjoyed that. I know my limits.
Yeah.
That Homeworld's just that'll be okay. No. Three-dimensional space. I just can't get my head around it at all.
It's when the AI would set up these giant flanks, and you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm heading straight for their mothership. They'll be fine." And then their fleet descends on you from above. It's like, "Hang on, wait a minute. I didn't. No, no. I'm not used to this. I'm not ready."
No, I just didn't have a clue what I was doing. It didn't hold my interest enough to try and learn either. Unfortunately, it was like, yeah. It was definitely. I think it was more for people like yourself, mate, who played it a long time ago. Um, could appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I left that one quite quickly and quite easily left that behind. So a two-dimensional one's fine. That works for me.
Yeah. It's got that fine control like Dreadnought as well. If you want to, you can take your capital ship out of your fleet and just one-to-one control everything.
Oh yeah,
Control its flight.
I'd have a go with that.
Guns. And I think there's co-op, so I will rope you into it one way or another.
I'll give it a go.
Good stuff.
Sounds all right so far. I'll definitely keep an eye on it.
I think it would be worthwhile.
See, if I will rope you then into my other game, I'm looking forward to this year, and it's For Honor.
Ooh, okay.
I like chivalry. I am awful at chivalry.
Yep, with you there.
I played the Vikings version of it a bit more. A while ago, I was asked to review that. And I thought, yeah. I actually got onto a server, and I thought I am doing really well here. I must be getting the hang of this, and then I got kicked from the server because I didn't realise that it was a one-on-one server.
Oh,
So I was running up, stabbing people in the back, going, "I'm brilliant at this game." All of a sudden, these hours of practice for paying off. No, it was purely set up for one-on-one. But if For Honor just looks amazing and gratuitous and nasty, and if you saw it at E3 last year, the guy who come out on stage, I can't remember his name, but he came out on stage and he had this fucking big beard and his cane. I would have bought shit off that bloke. He could have sold me anything. It was like, I like this. This chap's me. I like him.
he could have sold little turds with beards on, and it'd be like, "Yep, I like
Yeah,
what you're
I'm
saying.
in.
I'll have that."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just thought he was fabulous. So what a guy to front such a game as well. So
Absolutely perfect for it. Yeah.
it just looks messy and horrible and boss and violent and yeah,
It looks like the bastard execution of the game, doesn't it?
yeah. Nice way of putting that, mate. Yeah, it's essentially, isn't it? It's quite a tactical hack and slash where it's rather than it looked really busy. The footage I've seen so far looks like Battlefield looked really busy. But it's a lot of CQCs, a lot of very close quarter combat, one-on-one, or 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type fights. Is it Vikings and ninjas? No, Vikings. Help me, Dan.
I'm not sure. Vikings and samurai.
Yes, something like that. There's three classes, isn't it? There's three.
And there's like the standard knights that you'd see anywhere else.
Yeah, it was just brutal, up close and violent. I was like, yeah, I'm into that.
It looks a lot more tactical than Chivalry, because Chivalry, as much as I do enjoy it and am shit at it as yourself, it's a bit of a game of who can swing their giant sword at your head first, and that's all you really get with it is whoever swings first tends to win the fights. There's not that much of a skill cap unless you're using one of the bows or some of the lighter weapons. Whereas For Honor looks like it's a lot more skill based, and there's like a proper combat system with blocking and proper dodges that work. Because Chivalry is great, but it's a bit messy, and you do tend to dodge only to find your legs come off, which is entertaining.
Yeah, it's quite grotesque, isn't it? Chivalry's quite good. Your heads will roll, literally.
Oh, yeah. And popping heads with maces is good. It's good fun.
So I think it's just like, being an island race as we are as English, I think, I think that just somehow speaks to my heritage. Perhaps it's like
Yeah.
I'd like to bash someone over the head with a mace. That's okay.
So,
Give
I,
me a big stick and a reason to hit something, and I'm probably all right for the afternoon. So yeah, for honest, it tickles a certain tickles. It scratches an itch, I should say.
yeah.
So yeah, that looks meaty. It looked really weighty combat as well, because one of the things I didn't like with Chivalry. It felt floaty a little bit. You didn't really feel the impact too much. For me, it's maybe it's gaming on a mouse, which obviously I'm not used to. I haven't been used to. Grow up on a controller. Um, this just looked. It just felt, in appearance, it looks like a weighty, meaty game, and I've always got a little place for that.
It looks sort of almost like the comparison between Left 4 Dead and Vermintide as far as melee combat goes. Chivalry's got that Left 4 Dead light. Your weapon will cut through anything. You'll just mash. Whereas For Honor looks a little bit closer to Vermintide, and it's a bit more tactical. The weapons have real weight. You can't swing a battle axe around your head and expect to be able to immediately get another blow off. You really have to time everything and be a bit more careful. And if I'm honest, I'd entirely forgotten that it was coming out until you mentioned it. Since we looked at it at E3 last year, I've sort of been totally blind to it.
I don't think you were as enamoured with as I was at the time, because I looked at that and just went, ooh, straight away. I had goosebumps and things, and I saw the potential now. And it's always that hope of what you have the game in mind. How he described it. So if that's what you make, if that's what actually I get to play that game you're describing, I'm in.
Yeah.
If it comes out and it is a little bit like Chivalry or a bit like Vikings, where it's a bit floaty, it's combat's a bit hit and miss. It's like, oh, okay, mate, fair enough. Well, thanks for trying, but this isn't for me. But if it is that slow, tactical, and brutal combat that he was saying that's what they want to bring, I thought, well, yeah, as I say, he's definitely got my attention, and I'm keeping a close eye on it because that game can't be spoiled.
No, I think they could get that very right. Hopefully.
Now you can watch that one and think, oh, have you spoiled it with too much info? So not really, because it is what it is.
I know that I'm going to hit people in the face with a mace.
Yeah.
I knew that from the release trailer, so yeah, that's fine.
A combat game that's almost like chess, but with your friends standing next to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay with me. Because I love Street Fighter, I love Tekken, but I am not very good at them at all. And if I go online, which I hasten to do, I always get my ass kicked. And it's not fun. But you have these images, matey, don't you, when you're playing a game, and you see a game like that, and you think, oh, what could that be like? It's like, well, stand next to Dan with a spear and a shield, and he's got a mace, and there's two guys standing in front of us. It's like, yeah. Well, you stab him in the face, Dan, and I'll whack him in the knee.
I'll break his legs, you cut his head off.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, man, it's like I hope that's what it comes out to be. We can get just 2 or 3 of us round here, round for an evening to have a go, and yeah, so it's strong on the keep a close eye on that one.
Hopefully, yeah.
You got anything else, mate? You keeping an eye on so far?
I've got one or two more. They're more honourable mentions as I'm trying to keep myself a little distanced from them. The one of them, which totally goes against my previous statement, as I'm an investor in it. Again, I'm really bad for crowdfunding games at the moment. I'm investing in stuff a lot, which is it's quite nice for my variety of games this year, but awful for my wallet. So, which is another 40k game. This is going to be a bit of a theme, as there's a lot coming out this year. Is Eternal Crusade, which is their they say MMO, but I'm a bit. It's not really an MMO. It's a bit closer to something like PlanetSide, which I suppose you could call it an MMO, but it's more like just a huge scale FPS or a third-person shooter in this case. And essentially, it's Space Marines fighting Chaos Space Marines, Orcs, and Eldar over giant maps with hundreds of players on each team. It's not free to play, but you can join the game as a free to play account if you want to play as one of the essentially the Griblies, if you want to play as a basic Tyranid or an Orc, just an Orc boy. So that people in the PvE servers will be playing against the free to play people, which I thought was quite entertaining. They'll be
Right.
So you can just be cannon fodder if you want to sign on as an Orc boy or a Tyranid Gaunt, which I thought was
That's what I was just thinking. So surely you wouldn't stand a chance if you're
oh no,
against someone who's obviously paid to play the game.
but you're not there as competitively. You're just purely there as as cannon fodder. But you have the advantage of an extremely fast respawn time, and you can just hurl hundreds of bodies at them. And I think there's going to be events focused around it and that kind of thing, and they've not really worked the mechanics out yet. But
Yeah, they'd have to make the cannon fodder an attractive idea.
I think it's more for people to get an idea of what the game's going to be like and then buy it more so than anything else. And there will be AI enemies as well, so there will be regular cannon fodder on top. But currently it's in pre-alpha, they say, although it's coming to Steam Early Access next week. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that decision, as it's been very led by the community and by their own backers up until this point. And I think it opens them up to a lot of criticism from people who haven't actively gone and looked to play the game, which could be a very good thing. It could help them refine it, but at the same time, I think they were the pace of people backing it was slowing down quite a bit, which was not really what they were hoping for. But the part I've played so far has been very much just deathmatch maps, which they're using to get the balance of weapons right, which is it's good fun. It's it feels great to be a Space Marine. I mean, it's the same as the Space Marine game, which I really enjoyed from a couple of years back, which I really enjoyed the multiplayer for. It's a very similar feel. You are a 8-foot tall proto-human in a 1-ton, essentially walking tank armor powered by a nuclear reactor, firing what is essentially a rapid-fire missile launcher at each other. It's great, it's really good, and the weapons are starting to come together now, and the way that they build their patches and they build their updates and balances is exclusively sourced from the community, more or less. So they have their Twitch streams into the Warp on, I think it's a Friday night. I think there's probably one going on at the moment, actually. And they any
Don't tell
comments? don't. I mean, I'm not even sure we've got any viewers at the moment, but
Don't tell our people that either.
maybe I should drop into their stream and say, "Hey, we're talking about you. Come see ours."
Yeah, we'll host them. We'll host them when we're finished. There you go.
And they listen to it, all the people talking in the comments about what they feel it looks like, and of course they have the forums on the website for founders, which are the backers, of different tiers, and all of the feedback's taken into account. Their support team's amazing. They're really active on the forums. It's shaping up like they've got a really good dev behind Behaviour Interactive, one of the few devs I've remembered the name of tonight. They're putting a lot of work and a lot of care into it and attention into it, which is necessary for franchises like that, because the fan base is so dedicated. And at the moment, the backers packs only exist until the 25th of January. Then you're not able to get them anymore. So time is running out on those. But
we've got a couple of days.
The cheapest pack currently ends up being around 28 quid, which for full access to the game, and you get some shinies for being an early access backer as well. I thought that was quite reasonable. I think it's going to be a little bit cheaper than that on early access on Steam, but you won't get half the stuff that you get for being a founder. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, and then just more of an honourable mention than anything else is the Inquisitor game that comes out later this year. which is an ARPG, which they've had a hell of a resurgence the last year. I think since Diablo 3 launched, they've had really big coverage. I mean, we've had Pillars of Eternity, which has gotten massive critical acclaim. We've had Victor Vran, which is cracking, really good fun.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, and a couple of others as well.
Is it the new Van Helsing as well?
Yes, yeah.
Was that last year?
Yeah. And
Wasteland 2, that's not really the same thing, is it?
Not really, but
No, that's the old Fallout guys, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a similar
ignore
kind
that
of
one.
top-down type job.
It's just I just the isometric, and my brain just melds the two,
Yeah.
which is incredibly disrespectful to both. Because obviously one's more of an action, isn't it? One's more role play.
Yeah. But yeah, it's and again, it's another very deep facet of the 40k universe is the Inquisition.
There's definitely a theme with what you're looking forward to this year, man.
Yeah, I'm probably into 40k.
It's basically got
now.
Games Workshop written on it.
I'm not sponsored by them. if only. Oh man.
Not yet.
You can pay me in plastic, please. Plastic and resin.
Or glue.
Oh. I actually don't buy their glue. Just heads up, by the way, GW, your glue's shit. I love your models, but your glue's awful.
And your shop smells sweaty. I'm only joking.
Thankfully, their glue does stink, so it usually smells of glue.
Yeah, that's what it is.
glue and paint, which is quite satisfying. The fumes are quite nice. But yeah, that's looking good. Also, the Talisman Horus Heresy is coming out in a couple of weeks as well. We've got that to look forward to.
I'll play that.
Yeah, I intend to grab that. And then
I'll be on that one.
We've got the Eisenhorn game, which is another Inquisitor game. Now, Eisenhorn is a series of novels by Dan Abnett, which are you've got the Eisenhorn trilogy, the Ravenor trilogy, and the Bequin trilogy, which is not finished yet, and which are some of my favourite 40k novels. They are just exceptional books, even if you don't subscribe to the universe at all. Very grim, dark, very very multiple shades of grey. There's no real good and bad. And I think it's a mobile game. It's a bit of an FMV mobile game type job. I think it's got a Steam appearance. I've not looked a huge amount into it. I'm trying to avoid it, as I just want to buy that when it comes out and then enjoy it from there. I'm trying to pick up your mantle, Ian, because I think it's probably a better way to look at things at the moment, because we get so force-fed so much information about everything.
It's only some. I mean, I don't hear a preview and go, oh, right, that. Right, I don't look at anything ever again. It's just certain games. I think I know, and I don't want to know too much. And as we've said before, it's very difficult to control the information that you receive. For me anyway, in this day and age, because one video can spoil it, and that's it. It's like, so I can't just media blackout. Don't want to know.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
But there are some, like we mentioned, For Honor. I mean, I'll keep a really close eye on that one. Because it's a new franchise, and I can't see how it could be spoilt, really.
Yeah, I don't think the storyline's going to be that important in that one.
So as I say, so there's certain areas make you think, oh no, it's okay. I don't want to know too much. Thank you very much. Other ones you think, yeah, fill your boots. Give as much information as you can. I'm happy to learn with this one.
Yeah. But, the main thing that's drawn me to the Eisenhorn game, because Eisenhorn's a very popular 40k novel. He's a very popular 40k character. He's only ever had a miniature once, and that is coveted to the point where it's almost impossible to get on eBay. I've tried. I don't fancy £100 on a 54mm model. It's not worth it.
Spend £80 on a ship.
It's different.
It's all relative, matey. It's all relative.
I have expensive hobbies.
It's all relative, mate.
But the main thing that's drawn me to Eisenhorn is that they've got Mark Strong voicing Eisenhorn, he's perfect, absolutely perfect to voice an Inquisitor. So that's got my hopes up that they know what they're doing. But we shall see. It's a multiple choice type game with a little bit of combat and some bits and bobs. So yeah, I think that's most of my year really. It's just 40k stuff and Star Citizen, really.
Right. Well, it's a complete departure.
Ooh, okay.
Right. Completely away from that. How about South Park: The Fractured Butthole?
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Okay. Obviously we saw this at E3 a little bit, and after playing The Stick of Truth, yeah, I'm getting that day one because that was just fabulous and stupid and everything I wanted it to be. It's had some of its. Some people are a bit critical of it. Some people I think love it a bit too much. It's not an amazing game, but as a piece of entertainment, it was fantastic. I loved that South Park Stick of Truth. So the fractured butthole with the coon and his and
With the cane.
I have the coon. It's like yeah, I'm in. That's a must. Um, that's one you don't want to know too much.
Yeah.
It looks like South Park. It has South Park humour. It has the great role play system in it. They can't get it wrong, surely. After the Stick of Truth, how can you get it wrong? Sorry, I don't want to know anymore. Just when's it coming, please? Give me the release date now. I'm going to. I'm picking that up. Um, as far as honorable mentions go after that, how about Mafia 3?
Yeah, I didn't play this much of either of the other two, to be honest. I got Mafia 2 for
That's a,
free.
that surprises me, matey, because I thought you'd love Mafia 2.
I've got it. I got it for free for voting in one of the Golden Joysticks. Is the only reason I ever even looked at those idiotic awards.
Knowing how much you love GTA,
Yeah,
now I'm not going to compare it because it's not fair. Well, I am actually. I'm talking shit. Right, it's a tighter experience than GTA. It's not as expansive. It's not as amazing. It's not. You don't have so much ridiculousness and stupidity that you can get. That's wonderful in GTA.
yeah,
But as an open world experience, that it sums. It's of its time.
yeah,
It's. I mean, it's the much celebrated intro into that where you walk that. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone really. I might know. Obviously, you play an Italian guy, an Italian American who survives World War Two, comes home from World War Two injured, and it's just as he comes home and he's walking down the street after being away for a few years at the war. It just the atmospheric, it's just perfect,
yeah.
and to follow his story, it was just brilliant. I'm not too sure where they're going with this one. Some of the footage I've seen already, but it's definitely kind of I'm keeping an eye on it because how much I enjoyed the second one. And if you do have a dry spell at any point, mate, it's definitely worth having a go at Mafia 2.
I think I should. I know I intended to. I believe when I installed it was probably a couple of days before the release of Bioshock Infinite.
Ah,
And I'd only just played Bioshock through for the second time at that point, and it was my first time playing Bioshock on a PC, and that swallowed me for a week or so while I burned through that, and then I think Infinite came out, and I mean I was writing about Infinite for at least a week solid, whilst I was playing it for the first 7 days. I've finished 3 playthroughs in a week and a half. So I think I just burnt out on that and then didn't want a game for a while after that. I think I fell to a couple of indies and didn't touch anything else. So I think I forgot about it at that point, and it's just been sat in my Steam library since, which is the story of many a game.
isn't it? Isn't it far too true that? Never a true word said. It's if you do find if you, I mean, does it compare to I think it's unfair to compare it to GTA, but it certainly holds its own for what it is. One, it's Mafia 2 is absolutely outstanding. So I'll be very keen, very hopeful. Excuse me, I'm holding it. I'm like, please don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see how it develops. But yeah, it's definitely one I'll keep an eye on. One I can't, I'm too giddy to speak properly about it. Is Overwatch.
We are very, very hopeful on that one. Very hopeful.
I, I, I don't like the term fanboy, but if you put Blizzard's name next to it, you get my attention because they are just quality.
Yeah.
I think they just do it right. Whatever they do, they just seem to do it right.
I wasn't convinced at all up until the point where we started playing Heroes of the Storm more or less daily, and at
Yeah.
that point now I think I've been won over to that way of thinking, and that is very much a MOBA done Blizzard's way, and it's fabulous. It's sublime.
What Blizzard seem to have the enormous talent to do is take something that's popular and then bring it to everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like MOBAs are popular within the MOBA scene. I can't play MOBAs. You put Dota in front of me, my head just melts. I'm like, I can't do this. They dumb it down without insulting you and make it accessible for somebody else to play.
But they leave that skill curve in there.
It's still there, yeah. It's they hit the mark almost perfectly every time. It's the same with Hearthstone. As a card games can be notoriously very difficult to understand or difficult to get into. Hearthstone is very basic, but if you say it's a basic game, it's insulting to the people who play it and the people who make it because it's not basic game.
Yeah.
But it's easy to understand, hard to master, and they do that better than anybody else. So when they said we're going to do like an arena shooter 5v5,
Which
I'm
is
like, oh, okay, I'm in straight away. That's me done. Okay, I'm in. When can we play that, please?
it's I mean that's the next evolution of the MOBA as well, isn't it? This year, I mean we've been playing testing a couple of games that are essentially FPS MOBAs.
And one we're not allowed to talk about. Yes.
Yes.
One's under strict NDA, but yeah, we've got Paragon, Paladins.
Yep.
What else have we?
Battleborn.
Battleborn. Paragons is more MOBA-ish than most but yeah, it's definitely the year for it because there's a few more as well as that. Obviously, we haven't had access to because not that lucky. Good God. There's one that's coming on the Xbox, isn't it? But the big giant things. I can't even think what that's called now.
Yes.
There's 5 or 6 at least this year that will hit full release. I think hopefully there's enough difference between them.
Yeah.
So they can stand out from the crowd. But it's definitely it's just got Blizzard's seal on that, mate, for me. So that's the one I want to play more than any others. That's the one like every time I open Battle.net, I keep looking to see if I've got access yet. I'm like, oh, please, please. Yeah, I'm hyped for that one.
I think it's the only game I've been really pining to play that I've not had access to.
Yeah. It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
The grass always looks green on the other side. You think, oh, that looks really great because I can't play
it. That's true.
Yeah, but Overwatch is a 5v5 class. It's class orientated, isn't it? So there's some of the character design just looks wonderful. Absolutely, he doesn't want to be a big ape.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but yeah, I just think it looks brilliant. They did a lot of streaming of it before, like a couple of months or two before Christmas, and I know one of the streamers I like to watch, JP. It was his game of the year last year.
Bloody hell.
It's not even full release. I mean, these guys play professionally, mate. Every day they do Twitch for a living. So yeah, it's definitely got my attention. Loving the look of it. Love the aesthetic of it as well. Like cartoon. It's not anime aesthetic. It's that animation style. It just looks wonderful.
Yeah, it's once again it's Blizzard's art style is always very pretty, but simplistic but pretty.
Annoyingly talented group of bastards they are.
Yeah, that's very true.
And the interesting way is that it's not free to play, this one.
Nope, you buy it once and then you're done, supposedly.
Because obviously Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone are free to play.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone does fancy an easier to understand, if you ever looked at a MOBA and thought, I like the idea, but I can't understand some of this, Heroes of the Storm comes highly recommended.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful game that is. But it'd be interesting to see how that evolves as well this year, because they've got big plans for that game as well.
It's been really well supported since the start. Lots of content. It's a
It's
totally
getting
different
better.
game.
Getting better all the time, Dan, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And interestingly, that's why I'm looking forward, not actually to play it, but just to see how it evolves as Hitman.
Yes, because that's a very new concept. Square
Well,
Enix
Jim
looking
Stilling
for
did a very interesting video on it last week.
yes, his Jimquisition on Monday
His
was
Jimquisition on Square Enix is very interesting to watch. So I recommend that if I just get go and give that a listen, see what you think. I'm interested to see if this works as a concept of cutting up a AAA game and selling it to you in pieces over time.
yeah.
Because I think done right, there's a market for this. There's a place for that. I like the idea. I think Hitman's the right. Maybe it's the right game if it's done well.
Yeah.
But the content's got to come quickly.
You need
But
the same day every month kind of job, don't you? You need to
yeah,
know when you
what
get the next bit.
for anyone who doesn't know what Square Enix have done, they're basically giving you the prequel and the first level, and I'm not sure the UK price, but in the States they're charging $15, and you have to wait a month or two to get the next one, and again you pay $10 or $15. I'm not sure. I think it's 6 months this runs for, Dan, is it? Something like that.
I believe so, yeah.
Or you can buy a season pass now up front, and you get all the content, when it releases. Each chapter releases, but what they're doing to kind of sweeten the deals, they're going to have like events that run through as well. So a bit like an MMO thing, where there's a timed event over a weekend. So I think if it is just a way to get you to pay for the game before they finished it, which is what Jim was mentioning in his video, I think that's an incredibly sneaky and horrible thing to do, and it won't work. Which possibly that's what they are doing, which is more than likely, to be honest. But if it's another way of have a little taste, only cost you a little bit, and try and grow the market, try and grow the player base for it, and then make it appealing for people to keep playing it while they're waiting for new content. So if you have like weekly events or fortnightly timed exclusive things to do, I kind of like the idea of that. And I enjoyed the Absolution. Is it Absolution?
Yes.
I enjoyed that one. It was one of my favourites. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with it. Because I do believe there's a market for that kind of thing.
I reckon so. And as you say, if it proves to be a way of flogging you unfinished games, it'll show through and it won't work. If it is a market growing technique and a way to sort of for them and the player base to protect the investment and to reduce the casualties, as it were, if you spend the money and you don't like it, then I think that'll show through too. And if it works, then we're going to see a hell of a lot of it. I think every other developer will pick up on that. I imagine it's something that the likes of EA have wanted to do for a long time.
We have episodic games now, don't we? Telltale are famous for them, and there's others ones like Life is Strange and things like that as well. So I think it can work.
I like to think so.
But I think for me, it was watching the Destiny, and this is from an outsider. This is before I bought it. Watching what was happening with that. You paid £40 for like the base game, but there was always new content with it.
Yeah.
Free like daily, weekly event things and things. That's what I like about it. When I bought it, I thought I like this.
Yeah.
I like the way that there's always something new that's happening. You might not like the particular event that's going on, you might not be interested in it, but it's like, oh, there's something going on. I can join if I wanted to. So I like that as well. I like that appeals to me. So I think if they can combine the two, where it's episodic but events at the same, so to keep you interested rather than I've played 2 hours of this Telltale game, I've got to wait a month or 6 weeks to come play part 2,
Yeah.
which puts me off. I'm like, oh, sod off. I want the whole experience. Where if you can just keep me interested until the next piece.
By changing it
Because
up with those events and the like.
we've seen how much they charge for the Taken King and what Blizzard did with that. And most people complained that it sold bucket loads because people were ready and wanted new content, so they wanted to. They begrudgingly, some people were happy to pay, but they went out and paid it anyway.
Yeah. Bungie have made an absolute killing out of
So
Destiny.
I'm excited in a way because I think I hope Hitman works to a point. I don't want it to be the norm, Dan.
No.
I don't want this to be, oh, this is how we play games now. Like, oh, fuck off. But I think I'm hoping there's a place for it. Because I'd love to spend £10 on a game and have a game for 2 months, and then I want to spend another £10 to keep playing it and make that game bigger and a bit better than it previously was.
It's very much, as much as I don't want to bring up Payday, it's how Payday used to be before Overkill got probably, well, greedy as they are now, which was we paid £3.74 for the game. It was a good base game. Then every couple of weeks there'd be a new heist out for a couple of quid. You'd pay for that and you'd get an extended experience till the next one came out. Then the next
But
one
they
came
also
out.
drop free stuff in as well, didn't they, matey, as well with
Yes.
Payday? They give you a little free thing. Like there's a Halloween special, wasn't there? And it's like, oh yeah, here's a little bit of free content. It just kept you sweet, it kept you interested, it kept asking a little bit more of you, but you were happy to keep giving back.
Yeah.
And you felt with that it was a two-way thing.
It felt
We're
like that.
giving you and we're happy to give back, and it felt like both parties were doing the same all the time. And where Payday went wrong is like, well, we've give you all this, and now we're going to change the base game to this, and
Yeah.
then we're going to charge you for it every time as well. And it's like, oh, you can fuck right off.
Yeah.
As the old saying goes, don't tell me it's raining while you're pissing down my neck, isn't it? It's like, fuck off. No, 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 no. What they did, they stopped giving and just asked and just started taking. And when it gets like that, people just don't want to give no more.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, I'm cynical, but optimistic at the same time. I'm a complete contradiction within myself. I'm hoping it works. Because I'd love to see this a little bit more. And I think Hitman might have the right chemistry that might have that like bit of magic too, because you can play a Hitman level over and over again and do it so many different ways.
It's the fact that there's, I think they've quoted thousands of civilians on each level, and
Yeah.
they can make any single one of them the assassination target for any time you boot it up.
Yeah.
So if they make the one person in amongst the most people the target and challenge you to get to them, say one event, without alerting anybody, then the next weekend using only brute force, that could get really interesting. I could really get behind that because it would be, especially if you're a proper leaderboard whore, it'll be really interesting and really competitive.
They could just even put little friendly little drops in, Dan, little rewards.
Yeah.
Even if it's just aesthetic rewards.
Yeah.
You know?
If you manage
Which
to kill
essentially,
this
which is
person,
what
get a
MOBAs
skin.
are. I mean, okay, they do have weapons and things, but it's stat based as well. It's not just aesthetics. So, speaking a bit out of turn there, but just give you a little something back.
Yeah.
Which is all as a consumer is what you want, isn't it? You want to feel respected by the person you're buying stuff off.
Yeah.
And if where it turns nasty and sour is when you don't. Online passes, DLC before the game's even announced, pre-order bonuses. It's like, oh, it just feels like money grabbing all the time. So games that do well and do right, I'll end my little thing on that with look at Rocket League on the PS4. It was a PS4. It was not a PS4 exclusive, but it was given free with PSN Plus. And they worked so hard to get that because they were surprised just how well it took off, and their servers were crushed for weeks.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get an online game going at all, really. And they were really struggling, but they worked so hard and so tirelessly, and everybody fell in love with that game. A lot of people like one of the top games of the year. You know, it was all people spoke about for a month or two. If you listen to podcasts and Twitter and, you know, you looked at Twitch and YouTube, it was everywhere. But because they were so genuine and they've kept giving content out, even now it's still free stuff. The DLC is sold through the roof.
People want to
It's
give back when they get stuff
because
for
it's
free.
like, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to give. I got this for free, but I want to. But even the people on Steam, Dan, who bought it from Steam and other, you know, key websites, were buying the DLC.
Yeah.
Because you felt like they cared what you thought. We want you to play our game. We want you to enjoy it. We enjoy making it. We made it for you to enjoy, and we're glad you're enjoying it. You know, we'll throw this new card in. You know, we'll have this new arena. We'll have this new mode. And it's like, you give a shit. So you're happy to part with your money then? That's why FIFA can fuck off and die.
I agree with you there.
And I love my football games.
I definitely don't.
Right, the last two, I've got two more and that's me done. And I've
think
probably
we've
missed
abolished
loads out. Okay. The other one, big one, and again, it's more of a curiosity, is Crackdown 3.
Yeah.
Just to see how this works with the cloud. There's multiplayer aspect to it because it's the single player and the multiplayer, as far as I understand, is separate.
They are very different, yeah. Very
It's like
separate.
one's off the disc, which is the single player off your hard drive more or so, and then the multiplayer is it's cloud based, and that'll be fascinating to see how that goes. Because what we saw at E3, Dan, some of that footage was unbelievable.
The multiplayer stuff, especially using the cloud computing power to work out all the damage modifiers and the destruction in that city was stunning.
If that works like they said, that could be something. That could be a game changer.
Yeah. Now, it being Microsoft, there's a very good chance that's going to be a Microsoft Store job on PC a little bit later as well. Seems to be a trend with theirs, which I'm really hoping it is. I was a big fan of Crackdown 2.
Fabulous stuff, shite, isn't it?
It's my kind of open world game. It's why I love Saints Row 4, because it's just give yourself some superpowers and dick about in a city, punching people's heads in.
The new one needs a new engine though, mate. But yes,
yeah, just a bit, yeah.
Yes, it does. It's just the engagement. You just turn your brain off.
Yeah. It's really nice when you don't want to think too hard about anything. You just want to blow.
I'm not that proud of myself when the wife walks in and I'm playing Saints Row. I don't feel like, I don't want to wear the t-shirt. But it's one of them dirty games, mate. If no one's looking, we don't have to own up to it because it's fucking completely mindless shite. It's brilliant. Whoever thought of that dubstep gun needs a fucking award on his own.
Oh dear. I still have to play Cat Out of Hell.
Don't.
Oh.
it's tired. It felt like a cashing on a dying engine there. It's Saints Row 4 was I think it peaked at 3. I think 4 got a bit silly. A little bit too silly.
I think I'd agree with you there.
3 was my favourite. But Get Out of Hell's terrible. Now, it's not bad, Dan. It just doesn't stand up anymore. If you look at GTA and stuff like that, mate, it doesn't. It's like it's a really poor cousin.
GTA 5 coming out made Saints Row look a little bit daft. Full stop. But
it used to be a genuine. For me, it was a genuine alternative. GTA 4 or Saints Row.
Yeah.
You know, Saints Row hasn't caught up to GTA 5 yet as a genuine alternative, and Get Out of Hell certainly isn't that. And it's quite short as well. But my last one, and this is my last one, is Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Now, that's another one I'd entirely forgotten about until you mentioned it. But yeah, that's very high on the list. Very high.
That looks tits yourself crazy, that, mate.
Yeah. It's a very hardcore co-op. Open world. That's
open world co-op. Yeah. I loved everything they said about that. I loved the idea of it completely. Yeah. And it looked great as well. but it would do it to E3. It's not going to look like shit. But yeah, they're my games to keep an eye on, and I'm just myself. I'm keeping an eye on. Looking forward to seeing how they go. Some are must buy, some are just morbid curiosity and hopeful expectation. And I probably missed a load out as well.
I think I'm with you there. I've got as I've said, got quite a themed focus this year, but it's I'm sure that there'll be stuff coming out that'll surprise us. There'll be indies we won't see coming that'll be amazing. And as you said earlier, it could be as good a year as last year, if not better, which is mind blowing, and could be amazing.
Some of my favourite games ever released last year. I think last year raised the bar.
Yeah.
So this year could be something cool. I mean, we haven't mentioned Uncharted.
No, that's true.
And we haven't mentioned the price of the Oculus on the PC because we're good like that. And we haven't mentioned Origin Access on the PC either because we're good like that.
These are debates for another time, I think.
There's so much to look forward to this year, and we don't even know exactly how this year is going to play out just yet either. There's a lot more to come that we, as you rightly said, maybe we don't even know about yet.
Yeah.
We're spoiled.
Yeah, and with a bit of luck, it might be a slightly better year as far as buggy game releases go. With a bit, I think Arkham Knight may have been a pretty decent cautionary tale for how to not release a PC game. But
I think if you've got a PC, you just don't buy Warner Brother games. I think that's the method.
Annoyingly,
that Mortal Kombat things are fucking disgusting.
That
disgusting.
is, yeah.
So it's like, oh, you can set that off Warner Brothers. You're going away, sadly, of Konami and stuff like that. Where the mighty have fallen, unfortunately. Thank you for everything you did, but fuck off because it's terrible now.
Yeah, you're damn right there. But yeah,
we don't want this shit, so fuck off.
Yeah. Hashtag fuck Konami to perpetuate it.
I love Konami for what they did. I don't love them for what they've done lately.
Yeah, I think that's the
news of them bowing out of making games was like, well, just thank you.
Yeah,
because you've made some of my absolute favourites of all time forever.
It's sad, but it's also quite happy because it means they can't fall any further.
Yeah, but if you're going to release another thing like Alone in the Dark, you can keep walking off that short pier and just keep fucking going. I'll tell you when to stop. Just keep going because that's an abomination.
Let Kojima work for Sony. He's got the money now. He does. That's fine. You can leave him to make Quiet Valley all on his own.
You promised me PT was just a teaser. You fucking bastards. Was one of the greatest things I've ever experienced in my entire life.
I'm glad I didn't play that. No, I won't.
Never, ever, ever.
You don't have to put it quite like that.
You know, mate, that shouldn't happen.
Not these days. Nah.
It should never happen that you do something like that gets lost to time. Bastards. I'm going to start ranting. But that's me. That's me done.
Yeah, I don't think I've got any other honourable mentions. I'm sure I'll think of 1,000 things in about 10 minutes' time. But yeah. I think that is us signing out. So, yeah, I mean, we'll probably be back in a couple of weeks with some kind of scheduled programming, I imagine. Probably something we've already mentioned that warrants further debate, like the price of the Oculus or Origin Access. Once that launches, that could be a very worthy talking point, and going through what's actually on there and what's in the vault and what's not.
Absolutely.
But from me, at least, it's a good night, and we'll catch you soon.
Yeah, good night, and until next time.